Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about bad games. And I'm laughing even saying that because I think it's such a weird term. And it can mean so many different things. And just before I even dive into it, bear in mind I've already done a video on what I think makes a game good, which I'll link below, and the data, the objective data on my games, which I'll also link below. So I kind of reference both of those in here, but you might want to watch them first to see where I'm going from in this one. So first of all, when people say a game is bad, it's kind of a vague term, because do they mean it's low selling? Do they mean the review scores are low? Do they mean the budget was small? In which case, why don't they just say it's a cheap game? But cheap has its own connotations. But no, usually just people say it's a bad game. You shouldn't play it. It's a bad game. Now, it's fine if you say, I think this game is bad. It's fine if you say, I don't like this game. It's even fine if you say, I hate this game. That's true for a lot of things. But what's nice about those phrases is they're all obviously subjective. And yes, there are some of you who go, that's a bad game. And what you really mean is, I think it's a bad game. But there are some of you who say, that's a bad game, and you mean it is 100% objectively bad across the board and no one should play it, and your word is the final word. Now, if that's not what you mean, you can skip over what I'm about to say. But if it is what you mean, if you really think that your take on a game is 100% objective truth for everyone, not only are you wrong, you're also probably a narcissist. Now, because of that, everything I say from now on is just going to deflect right off that narcissism shield. But you should probably know you get talked about in game development circles. Game narcissists are well known and discussed. We will never say anything about it publicly. Well, I will, but you wouldn't if you're working on a game, because you don't want the people who end up not liking your game. He called me a narcissist. No, I'm not calling. If you don't like one of my games, you're not a narcissist. If you think my games are objectively 100% bad and they're bad for everyone and anyone who likes it is stupid, yeah, you're probably a narcissist. And that's where things get weird about people talking about games. They go into this deep dive of here's all the things that are bad about this game, and a lot of things they're talking about fall into, like, for someone who likes the game, it's either a feature no one cares about. Like when I talked about how hard we worked to make feet not slide in Fallout and Arcanum, a lot of you said, oh no, that was really important, I love that. But we spent a lot of time on it. I mean, a lot of time. And I keep thinking back going, what could we have done? What could we have fixed? What new feature could we have added if we hadn't spent that much time on that? To some people, those feet sliding wouldn't matter. How do I know? Watch Diablo. Their feet slide all over the place. It looks like they're skating around on an ice rink. It came out a year before Fallout. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. So similarly, there are other things people don't care about. You think the writing is juvenile. Other people don't care about that. I don't like romance in my RPG writing. And it kind of makes me go, And I often think it's poorly done. It makes everybody in the world feel like this, everybody in the world is a horny bisexual person. It makes your world skew in a weird thing that you may not be thinking you're skewing, but you are. But in no way would I think that makes a game bad for everyone. Especially in a lot of them, you can just avoid it. Just ignore it. Don't do it. So that's why I often say, yeah, I don't really like this game, or I don't play this game. But I rarely talk about games I don't like because I stop playing them. If you don't see me talk about a game on this channel, it's because I haven't played it, or I played it and I didn't really like it, so I didn't finish it, and I don't have anything to say about it. But I've seen people say things like, I'll give an example. People say this about all of them. There are people who don't like the original Fallouts, or Arcanum, or Temple, or Bloodlines. But let me talk about like Outer Worlds. There are people on this channel who go, Outer Worlds is bad. It's just bad. And they're asked questions. They're like, hey, Tim, why do you think the Outer Worlds is so bad? I'm just asking. As if that question is objective. Like, we've defined that it's bad, and now we want your explanation on that. Well, first of all I can tell you is look at the reviews. Tons of people liked it. They continue to like it. The review score has not changed. This game has been out almost 5 years. At the time of this video, it's been 4.5 years since Outer Worlds came out. The scores have not changed. It has sold millions of copies and continues to do so. So for the people who go, oh, people got tricked into buying it or whatever, people are still buying it. No one's tricking them, saying that you were tricked into thinking it was going to be Fallout New Vegas. Millions of games come out that say made by the person who made this. And if you look at Outer Worlds, you can see the Fallout genealogy in it. Now, it got 2 DLCs, 2 expansions, and is getting a sequel. And for all of you who say it is objectively bad, how do you explain that? Especially look at Fallout. Fallout went out, didn't sell that well. But, Interplay liked it, and it was reviewing well, so they immediately made a sequel. They made a quick sequel. I mean, I left before it was done, but that thing was done in less than a year. It was pushed out the door. And it reviewed well, too. Didn't sell that great. Proof? Interplay wasn't doing well. If Fallout had been selling millions or tens of millions of copies, they would have made a third one. But they didn't. So all I can say is if something goes out and reviews well and you think it's good and it doesn't sell well, that may be why a company isn't making it, not because it's bad. So all I'm trying to say here is I hope you understand, watching this, that bad is subjective. I don't think that there is any game on Steam, and mention it in a comment if you can find it. Find me a game on Steam that has 100% negative reviews. No mixed review, no positive review. Just 100% negative. I tried to find that on IMDb because IMDb has, you can look at their bottom movies. People still like Manos Hands of Fate, which is one of the lowest scoring movies ever made. But there are people who like it. And not the MST version, the Mystery Science Theater. So just acknowledge bad games. What you mean by bad games are bad for you. And sure, keep on saying you don't like it, you didn't like it, here are the reasons you didn't like it. But if you start arguing with someone over something you didn't like that they did, understand that argument at its basis is fruitless. You're arguing over whether chocolate is better than vanilla. I mean, the answer is chocolate. But there are people out there that will argue vanilla. Are they wrong? Am I wrong? It's taste. And to think that your taste is 100% objective, defined, scientific truth, that's scary. I know some people like to talk like that, but they don't really believe it. Okay, but if you really believe it, I'd stop talking like that. Anyway, I've said before, on any game I've put out, I can point to elements I didn't like. Some elements I didn't even want. That's normal. When you play a game, it's normal not to like all of it. And if you find yourself being one of these people that once you like a game, you can't even think of anything wrong with it, and you're like that with a lot of games, you may be a little guilty of black and white thinking, where once you like something, everything about it is perfect, and once you hate something, everything about it is bad. Try to look at games as nuance, a nuanced product. Decide what it is you like and what it is you don't like about every game, and that will help you find new games. And I've said it before, try to find reviewers who think like you do. I've mentioned before Mortismal Gaming. One reason I like watching Mortem review things is he waits until he does it to 100%. So when he's playing a game, he will go, I'm not going to tell you whether I liked it or not because I want to see all of it. That way it may have a rough start but get really good, or maybe really good and just get horrible at the end. And then he talks about that. I love the other day he was doing a narrative RPG. And he said, things look good so far, but I haven't finished the story. And narrative games succeed or failure based on their narrative. If you're going to put out a game and you're going to go, this is a narrative game, this is the reason we're missing these features, it's the reason we're not really strong in these other game elements because we're a narrative game, well, then it's okay for people to judge you on your narrative. So I like his reviews. His reviews often line up with how I feel about games. Not 100%, but usually if Mortem likes a game, I'll like it. If he doesn't like it, I won't like it for the same reasons. So I recommend that you find a reviewer like that. If you don't want to buy a bunch of games, find a reviewer like that and use their reviews, or buy it on Steam where you can return it in a short period of time if you don't like it, or well, if they have a demo, less games have demos now, or just wait to see what like your friends think about it, or enough reviews come out that you think you can make an educated guess on whether you like it. I've played games that didn't review well that I loved. Same thing with movies. There are movies that came out that reviewed horribly, and I watched them. I'm like, this movie's brilliant. Similarly, there are some movies out there, and some of them surprised my friends, that all my friends loved. I know you guys love. People assume I love because of the games I've made, and I think they were royally stinker of movies. But that's just because they didn't have what I wanted in a movie. So, same thing with games. It's all subjective. It's fun to talk about. Just try not to think of yourself as the last word. And that's all I want to say.